But if you think that they're going to reverse course immediately just because of currency decline, unfortunately not. They don't care about stable money at all. They're just trying to save the financial system. This is not normal for the repo market, the volume, to be fluctuating by 30, 40, 50% every day or every week. The Canadian dollar has been absolutely tanking this week, and it's been a theme for the past couple of months. So we're going to get into it today, and also what's going on in the banking system. And you could kind of connect the dots and kind of think, is the Canadian dollar tanking actually to do with what's going on in the banking system? And I'll let you be the judge of that. So this is the chart of the Canadian dollar, and obviously it doesn't look good at all. Broke 71 cents today, and it just went straight through it. As you can see on this chart, it just went straight through that. You know, that is not a good sign when you break those round numbers and just go straight through it like that. But we will get into why a temporary bottom could be closer than you think in the Canadian dollar. We'll get into that a little bit later, so stay with me here. But yeah, the Canadian dollar's been tanking. This is a daily chart, guys. So each one of these candles represents 1 day's worth of trading. And as you can see, even on days where it's actually been positive for the Canadian dollar, it's barely been positive. I mean, just look at it. You've had a couple of positive days there, just followed by days where it just completely reverses it. But out of the past 38 trading days, guys, I calculated this and posted it to X, you had 10 trading days that were positive for the Canadian dollar. And as you can see on this chart, they weren't that positive compared to the decline. Now, what I will say is this is not just in isolation. So if we go to pound US dollar and see what's happening there, very similar decline, not as severe as the Canadian dollar, but very similar decline. If we go to euro US dollar, you see exactly the same thing. You see decline, decline, decline across the board. So it's not a good thing. And obviously it means that the DXY is strengthening here. If we go to the DXY, you can see it's just been pounding higher since hitting that 100. I've maintained it for a long time. As many of you guys, veterans who followed the channel for a long time, I was the one here saying you need to get out of the Canadian dollar at 78 cents, at 75 cents. And I just said the trend is just going to go lower and lower and lower. We'll have these temporary rebounds, of course, within that trend. Those are selling opportunities. But yeah, you're not going to want to hold on to Canadian dollars long term. You're going to want to insure it at least with something like gold. And if we go into gold, actually, pretty interesting, because obviously gold hasn't had the best couple of weeks, which again I find interesting when you look at the context of all the other currencies selling off as well. So this is gold Canadian dollar, and you can see, yeah, it has gone down. It hasn't gone down that much. It's only gone down a couple of $100, but still it's gone down, and it was just punching all-time high after all-time high. And finally we've had this decline here, and I posted on my X, me and my buddy were chatting about this. We were like, we think the top is in at gold, and so far we called that perfectly, but I have no idea. It could just rocket off and go to newer highs here. But you know what, it was just the fact that silver gold bull was at Costco. My buddy was sending me that, and I was like, yeah, you know what, that kind of sounds like the top to me when it's entering the mainstream media on CTV as well. That's another thing. And in fact, that brings me on to that right now. I searched this up yesterday, guys, and there was like 2 articles, both from financial related media outlets, about the Canadian dollar. And you look today, and oh my God, there is a lot of news outlets reporting on the Canadian dollar, including the mainstream media in Canada. You've got Global News reporting on it there. You've got Reuters that are reporting on it there. So you've also got CTV down here that are reporting on it as well. So you've really got mainstream media coverage now of what's happening with the Canadian dollar. And what does that mean? Well, that could mean a temporary top is really close in the USD CAD. And if you look at that chart, well, it's nearly at 141. I mean, it was only hitting 140 this week, and it's already nearly at 141. So this is moving very, very quickly quickly. And if we look at the impacts on inflation, obviously we know inflation, as by the government's numbers, 1.6% is complete bullshit. We all know that. But if you look at what's going on with inflation, and now you look at what's happened in the Canadian dollar. So let's see here, from September 24th, 2024, it's gone down nearly 5%. So you are talking about, in the space of 2-3 months, the Canadian dollar has nearly slipped here by 5%. Is that going to have an impact on inflation? Of course, because, you know, especially in the case of food prices, where all food is pretty much imported from the United States, it's going to have an immediate impact. There's no competition either, because you've got an oligarchy, so they are just relentless when it comes to adjusting their prices. Immediately, as soon as they see it, they're going to be adjusting their prices. And you can even see in this mainstream media article right here, they're talking about that impact of plummeting Canadian dollar being felt at the dinner table. Now, this is really interesting, obviously, because you've got the central bank, and basically the central Bank of England also reducing rates, also in the Eurozone, they're reducing rates as well. So you've got all these central banks reducing rates at a quicker pace than the Fed, and now you're looking around at these central banks as the currencies tank and thinking, is this down to them? And it very well could be, because they don't have a clue what they're doing. But if you think that they're going to reverse course immediately just because of currency decline, unfortunately not. They don't care about stable money at all. They're just trying to save the financial system, which is imploding under the surface, and they're just never ever going to come out and tell you that, of course. And the Bank of Canada, massive losses again. So this comes from Marty up north. Thank you to my buddy for sending me this. But you can see here, they incurred net losses of 732 million. And I'm guessing that's 2.5 billion for the 3 and 9 month periods ending September 30th, 2024. So they're incurring huge losses here as a result of all the operations that they've done in the past when interest rates were really low, and now they're holding on to obviously these bonds that are not worth as much as they were when they bought them all, and they're trying to obviously offload them and shrink their balance sheet. But how quickly can they really do that? And one thing I want to show you about the financial system, which I think is so important to take a look at, is because what is happening in the repo market is very interesting. You know, this is not normal. Obviously, we saw the repo market that started spiking around June. I covered it on the channel saying this isn't a good sign. It spiked up after, guess what? The Bank of Canada cut rates. You can see how after the Bank of Canada cut rates, guess what? Starts spiking. But if you pull this out and look at when they started increasing rates, well, you don't see this going down, do you? So it's not like that is normal operation when rates go up and down. And basically what this is, the repo market, to put it in layman's terms, is it's just an asset swap. It's simply where banks are going out, financial institutions, dealers are going out, and they're lending out cash and they're swapping it for treasuries. And it goes both ways. There's a repo market and a reverse repo, but essentially it's short-term cash, the one we're talking about right now. So if you've got lots of players out there who are looking for short-term cash funding, and you've got the Bank of Canada that's having to intervene because there's not enough available, then again, that doesn't say good things about the stability of your banking system. But what I want to zoom in on here is just the volatility, because it has been crazy. If you look at these swings over October and into November, you went from around $30 billion and then you shot up to 56 and then 49, and you're just going all over the place. I mean, this is not normal for the repo market, the volume to be fluctuating by 30, 40, 50% every day or every week. This is just not a regular occurrence. So it could be a sign one of the banks is in trouble. It could be a sign that somebody or something in the financial system is going very wrong. And when you look at the Canadian dollar and what's been happening over the past month, well, it's down over 2%. And if you look at since when that repo market really started to go crazy, you're down over 4%. So obviously, again, it just doesn't say good things about what's going on here. So obviously, we have to ask that question. Are the two things connected? Are they not? not? Is something going on in the background? Could this be more of a global financial crisis? And obviously, I think it's a global financial crisis. I said for a long time, global financial crisis is coming. It's inevitable. We saw the banking crisis blow up in the US. That was systemic. You saw systemic banks that blew up with that. You saw what happened with Credit Suisse. So this is systemic and it's going to filter through, and that banking crisis has not been resolved. This financial crisis is not over yet. In fact, it's only just getting started. And the commercial real estate crisis that we're seeing is basically probably going to be one of the catalysts to this, because it just looks so bad right now. So the Canadian dollar going down, but as I said, mainstream media coming out could mean a temporary bottom is near for that. So we'll have to continue to monitor what happens. Is it going to go down to 69 cents by this time next week? Who really knows? But it will be interesting to see, because obviously at the rate it's going right now, it very well could be if it continues here. So anyway, if you've enjoyed this video, I'd highly recommend that you check out this video here. If you're looking for a VPN, click the link here. If you want to help support the channel, go to expressvpn.com/marketmania. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.